much. But also, it's just a greasy situation.
Ava, come.
Okay, we are live on Facebook. Let me just see. I thought Amy was joining. She just posted something on Facebook, so let me just see if she is. She just made schmaltz. Okay, I don't know.
I see what that is.
So let's get into this. If everybody can go ahead and mute. Oops. Okay. So everybody's muted except for me. Eric doesn't seem to be there. I don't want you to miss anything, Eric. There you are. Hi, Robert. You're on mute, Eric. He's talking, but he's on mute. You were muted all that time.
I was?
Yeah, I muted you.
Oh, well, you muted us.
Hi.
I had to go to 3 places to find a whole chicken.
And no one sells that schnitzel out. Or what is it?
No, we get that from the broth. We'll use that later. That's schnitzel. It's not schnitzel. It's small.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna get started. So we're making matzo ball soup. Let me pin my video so that I am the default. Okay, matzo ball soup. It is Passover, and this is the staple for me at Passover. There's a lot of dishes that go along with it, but to me, this is the thing that I look forward to every year. And my mother made amazing matzo ball soup, so shout out to Marcia. She's probably watching on Facebook. She definitely taught me the foundation of it. She always made rich and flavorful broth and light and fluffy matzo balls. So I came at this with a foundation of really good product. My mother owned restaurants. My grandparents owned restaurants. There was a lot of Jewish cooking in our house and in the restaurants. There were times where she would have matzo ball soup in the restaurant. So this is a thing for the Zolot family. And nowadays, I've spent a lot of time playing around with my recipe. As I do with most things, I've explored different methods and techniques and landed on mine. But as I've said with everything else that we cook, my intention is to teach you the basics, the foundations, talk about variables, talk about techniques and principles so that you can become familiar enough to own it yourself and make your own version. So I'm not about, oh, Amy and Sarah are both in a waiting room. I didn't realize there was a waiting room on this. Sorry, guys.
Let them in.
They're in. So Sarah should be on. Sorry about keeping you guys waiting. And then Amy Hoffman should be in here as well. So we got a nice crew. So the basics of a matzo ball soup are basically creating a flavorful, rich broth, and then a dumpling. The dumpling is made with matzo meal. We're not going to do the dumplings today because, as we discovered through all of the interactions that we've had, most people don't have schmaltz or access to schmaltz, and that's okay. That's pretty normal and common. So the dumplings are made with matzo meal. I hope everybody has matzo meal. If you don't have it, you can make it with matzah. I found that my store was out of matzo meal. One of the stores I go to, I wound up getting it, but they do have cake meal usually available. That's like the last thing that stays on the shelves during Passover. You can make it with cake meal. The only difference is the fineness of the grind. So cake meal is more like flour. And what that will get you is a denser matzo ball. I don't like dense matzo balls. I like light and fluffy ones. But in a pinch, if there's nothing else, farfel will not work. So Becca, I see you're holding up matzo farfel. That is not matzo meal.
Make her whiz it like I did. Adam made me whiz the matzah in the blender.
So Becca, that is not matzo meal.
Oh no.
Matzo farfel is it's okay, we can help you. Matzo farfel is basically broken up bits of matzah that we used to put in soup in lieu of noodles to give it a little substance. So it's like if you took matzah and just broke it up into loose pieces, that's what matzo farfel is. So, if you look at the hierarchy of matzah size, you've got a sheet of matzah, then there's matzo farfel, then there's matzo meal, and then there's cake meal. So what we're using for this is matzo meal. Now, if you don't have it, what you can do, Becca, you have a food processor, right?
I have a Vitamix, yeah.
Okay, so what Nika did was you take the matzo farfel, you put it in the Vitamix, and you grind it into a meal. So don't let it get too fine that it's like a floury powder, but mill it until it becomes like a meal, and you'll be able to use that just fine.
It's completely powdered.
So we're not going to get to that today because what we're going to do is we're going to cheat our way to schmaltz. So schmaltz is rendered chicken fat, and rendered chicken fat is done by taking the skins of chicken and slowly cooking it until the fat renders. And then ultimately the chicken skins, they fry in their own fat. It's kind of like chicharrones. And those are called gribnes. So the little pieces of fried chicken skin are called gribnes. And those are delicious unto themselves. But the schmaltz is made by rendering chicken skin. And it originally came because Jews, from what I've heard, you can't use the byproducts of the animal, so milk or i.e. butter with meat. So when you were cooking, they would use the schmaltz instead. But that to me doesn't fully add up because I'm pretty sure they had olive oil back then. So you could have used olive oil instead. But there's good flavor to it. And I think that's the thing. It's that Jewish cooking is often defined by that sort of funky, gamey, chicken fat vibe, and it plays through a number of dishes that I enjoy. I like it. I make my latkes with it, as you guys saw the other day. I put it in the matzo balls. I put it in kasha varnishkes, the bow ties and buckwheat. So what we're going to do today is we're going to make a broth. And then after we make the broth, I'm going to show you what you guys need to do to clarify and skim your broth and get it in the fridge so that tomorrow there should be a little disc of fat on top of it. We'll take that out and use that in lieu of the schmaltz. It's a cheat. It's a little more watery, but it works fine with matzo balls. I wouldn't use it if I were frying things in it because it would tend to crackle and pop as a fry agent because it has too much moisture in it. So in order to make a broth, I want to just be clear about the difference between a broth and a stock. A stock is made with the bones of an animal, and the broth is made with the bones and the meat. And our intention here is to get as much flavor and make it rich and a little bit fatty. So we want to use all of it. And then ultimately, we're going to take the chicken off, the meat off the bone, and we're going to use that in the soup. My broth I do with raw chicken. Okay, so some broths, they will have you brown your meat, roast it off, and brown your aromatics or your vegetables, and that will make a darker stock. I like a light stock with matzo ball soup. I like it to be rich, but so in golden color, but I don't want it to go into that sort of dark brown realm that a roasted stock will get you. That said, if that's your preference, then by all means do that. And the only thing you would do differently than what we're doing now is you would take your chicken, you would roast it, you would take your vegetables, you would roast them or fry them. I wouldn't get them too dark, but then throw them in, and they're going to give you a more of a brown stock versus a golden stock. As far as the things you include in it, I use a whole chicken. If I'm making more, then I'll add chicken wings or legs to supplement. So start with a whole chicken, and then the general rule of thumb is that for every 2 pounds of chicken, you want 2 quarts of water to go with it. So I have a 6-pound chicken here, so I'm going to be putting 6 quarts of water. So the relative size of your pan is a big factor in how much you're going to make. This is a 10 to 12, excuse me, this is a 10 quart stock pot. So I could get 6 quarts of water plus all of the vegetables and I'll be fine. If the biggest thing you have is 6 quarts, I think this is 4 quarts, I have a 6 quart, then you either back down on the amount of meat you put in there, or you, oh, it looks like Sarah's back again. Or you, there's Sarah. You're in here twice, Sarah. Unless, is this another Sarah? Or do you have 2 logins?
It's me again. I'm logging off of the other.
All right, I'm gonna boot it.
No, it's gone.
But it hangs up here every time you do that.
Hey, Adam, while we're having a quick talk moment, can I ask you 2 quick questions?
Yeah, of course, always questions.
One question is, this is pretty much like flour. You were saying that there's an option to whiz the matzah if you couldn't find matzah meal. I basically made this like flour. Is that what you were mentioning as cake? Like, should I do?
Yeah, I mean, I would try to keep it more like meal. If you think about what cornmeal is like versus what flour is like, masa, not matzah, but masa. I would try to go with more of a cornmeal flavor or vibe, texture than flour. It'll still work, but it'll just be denser. So the more flour like it becomes, the denser it becomes.
Okay, so Amy and Chandler, I can make some more and give you guys some.
Fine, and we don't need it till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, so the aromatics are a big factor. We talked about chicken. The other thing is that some people will put turkey necks in their wings. So I start with a whole chicken. I usually don't do a pot much larger than this. So, you know, at 12 quarts, even if I put a whole chicken in there, a 6-pound chicken, then I'm gonna supplement it with legs, wings, neck. You'll get different flavors. You can put turkey parts in there and it'll round it out. As far as aromatics, I like to keep it somewhat simple. I think that celery, parsnip and turnip, onion, and carrot are a really good combination. I usually put a bay leaf in as well. I don't think I put that on the ingredients, but if you have a bay leaf, you might put that in. A lot of people put garlic in. Matter of preference. I don't like the garlic. It's a thing that I've tried, but a lot of people use it in their recipes. Some people put ginger in as well. Kind of leans it a little more in the Asian direction. But you know, any aromatic you can think of. The primary thing for me is that the dill really gives it a flavor that I love. So that's my favorite aromatic that signifies this soup. So what we're gonna do is
My family did it the exact same way that yours does.
What's that?
My family did it the exact same way that you do right there.
Fantastic. It's good. I mean, you know, all good Jews should do it the same way, right?
And do you put the giblets in?
I do not, no.
Okay.
But you can put the neck. So what we Jews would do with the giblets, or in particular the liver, is we make chopped liver. And again, schmaltz is fantastic in chopped liver. So if you're doing this a lot, what I do is I save up my livers, put them in the freezer, and then when I get a nice accumulation of them, I will saute them with some onions, some schmaltz, throw them in a grinder, chop liver. So let's make soup. Again, I have, and this is going to be a shorter day. We're not going to be here that long, and then tomorrow we'll come back. So what I'm going to do is let's prep our vegetables. And of course, I didn't bring a knife today. Okay, got a knife. So celery, I do not, here's another preference of mine. I do not like celery pieces in my chicken soup. I don't like to take a bite. So I use the celery and then I toss it. You don't have to do that, but that's my preference. We're gonna peel the rudabega and the parsnip. And then depending on the size of it, from what I've learned, when you do a bit of a dice on your vegetables, they do impart more flavor because there's more surface area. But what happens is you run the risk of them breaking down as you cook it. So the smaller they are. So I like sort of a large a large dice on them before putting them in so that they don't break down too much. So, you know, just kind of big pieces. And you can leave the tops on them. That's not a problem. These root vegetables, they tend to give it, what's the word I'm looking for? There's an earthy taste to the root vegetables that I think they impart. And I've never used a rudabega nor a parsnip in any other dish in my cooking ever. Maybe I should. I think you can make pureed parsnips, would probably be good if you just soak them in butter. But these are pretty unique to matzo ball soup for me. And again, just a hunk and a whack with the knife. Now, on the chicken, a lot of times I'll do a whole chicken cut up into 6 pieces. You get a lot of surface area on them, and that works fine. But I found lately that it's just easier for me to put a whole chicken in. It's still going to impart the same qualities as is, so I'm not going to cut it up. And that is perfectly acceptable. So let's go ahead and put our whole raw chicken in the pot. I am using the neck because I like the flavor of the neck.
Adam, do you have water in there yet or no?
No, I don't. I'm going to put the water in last. I'm going to put my vegetables. Now, here's the thing. I don't use celery for much else, and it doesn't hurt. I'm sorry. I'm going to do a rough chop on the celery. I almost forgot. I think celery gives it one of the best flavors, even though I don't like them as pieces. I'm a big fan of the flavor of celery. There's 2 different ways I've approached carrots in doing this. I'm going to put the root vegetables in. I'm going to put the bay leaf in. The carrots, oh, an onion. Okay. The one thing that I've learned about onion is that the skin from, and I don't know if it's true, I haven't seen the empirical evidence, but I like putting it in. I've heard that the skin helps to add to the golden color of the stock. So I leave the skin on the onion. I cut it halfway from the sides like this so that the tops hold on, so that the onion still keeps its shape, and I put it in as is. Now, on the carrots.
Should I leave in the sticker?
Definitely do not leave the sticker on. For the carrots, so there's 2 different ways. I always want the flavor of the carrot to get into the soup. Usually I want to use the carrots, almost not usually, always, I want to use the carrots in the soup itself. So I don't want them to overcook. So you either put them in at the beginning and then pull them out when they're tender and not like al dente actually. Or you cook your soup after you strain it. When you're making your matzo balls or something else, you put the carrots in and blanch them or cook them until they're at the right. So it's just a matter of doing it before or after. The flavor still gets in there. It's just about managing the texture. I'm going to do them now, just so that we get a full pot going and I don't have to worry about it later. So I'm going to snip the tops off.
Should we peel the carrots or no?
Yes. I mean, so there's 2 different ways you go about it. If you want to scrub them and you like the rough texture of them, then go ahead and just scrub them and chop them and put them in. I'm sorry, don't chop them. Wait, we chop them after they cook. I put the carrots in whole. Let them cook through.
How much celery and how much celery and how many carrots?
I put about 6 stalks of celery and I'm going to put about 6 carrots.
Okay, thanks.
And I'm just going to peel the carrots and I'm going to put those in whole because the carrots, basically you want to cut them after they're cooked. You don't want them to cook too fast and dissolve down into this. So I put the carrots in whole. And then just be mindful. So the things I'm going to leave you with after we do this, we're going to get this going. And then tomorrow, when we come back, you're going to have a finished and clarified stock. And I'm going to tell you how to do that once we get all the vegetables in there.
I'm sorry, you already put in the rudabega and parsnip?
I put in, yeah, I did a rough chop on the rutabaga and parsnips. I put the carrots, the parsley, the celery, the bay leaf.
When you say rough chop on the rutabaga and parsnips, I know you just like chopped the rutabaga in half pretty much.
About, you know, a 2-inch piece.
Because you're basically taking them out, right? Later.
Everything's coming out.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
The only thing that goes back in is the carrot and the chicken once we break it down. Okay, so my carrots are in there. I might put one more. I like a lot of carrot. Plus, I will be sharing my soup. It's just the greatest gift is to give somebody a beautiful jar of fluffy matzo ball soup. Yeah, one more. Why not?
Sorry, Adam. Sorry, I missed what you said about garlic.
It's a matter of preference. I do not like garlic in my soup. I think that it's, you know, maybe it's the fact that I am 75% Jewish and 25% Italian. I don't know. There's something that some people love it. And a lot of people love it. They put it in. It's a pretty common. I would say half and half of the recipes have garlic in it. If you do put garlic in it, then what you would do is just take a head of garlic, break it up, remove the skin from however many cloves you want to put in there, and you're golden. Drop it right in. So if you're going to do garlic, and let me know if you do. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Everybody should try garlic, you know, once in their life in their soup and see if they like it. That's the whole point of this is I give you the basics, you run with it. You know, you might like to have 2 onions versus 1. It just depends on the flavors that work for you. So you're going to do this and then you're going to try it again and again and again and again. This video will always be there for you. To get your water in, I have an easy solution. Like I said, 2 pounds of chicken, 2 quarts of water. This is a quart. So if you have deli containers, cold water, and I'm going to put, for my 6-pound chicken, I'm going to put 6 quarts of water. And it's a pretty easy function of just using this. And then what you want to do when you cook chicken soup, and this is the most important rule I'm going to give you, is never boil your soup. Okay, everybody repeat after me. Never boil your soup.
Never boil your soup.
And the reason you don't want to boil your soup is because boiling will start to break down. I'm going to lose my count here. I think this is 5. Boiling is going to break down the muscle tissue and the bone in your chicken and your vegetables. And what will happen is you'll get clouding. Okay. And nothing is worse than a cloudy broth. So if you've had failures in the past, it is probably because you boiled your broth or your stock. You want to simmer.
Hey,
so,
Adam.
Yes, dear.
I put in 3 quarts, and I've got a 3-pound chicken, and the water isn't covering. Is that to be expected?
No, it should. So look at mine. This is 6. So cover it. Make sure that it's covered.
Yeah.
You put 3 quarts for a 3-pound chicken?
It's like 3.2 pounds, but yeah.
Put a little bit more in and get it covered.
Yeah, because there's no harm in doing more water, right?
Did you put your vegetables in already?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, what the harm is it'll thin it out a little bit. But you can cook it longer and it'll develop more flavor. But yeah, just don't, if you can see here, so let me show everybody my pot in the gallery view. We've lost some people. Did we lose Amy? Oh, she's back. I set up a waiting room on this one. I'm not going to do that the next time. It makes it weird. What's up, Driggs? Hi, Amy's back. So if you guys want to see over here, look, this is a beautiful little pot of love. Chicken, vegetables. You know, in this amount, I think I'm going to put another half of an onion. I've got a half of an onion in my fridge from another time. I like onion. So I'm looking at this, I'm eyeballing it, and I'm saying, sure, why not? Put another half of onion because I don't know that this is going to get used. If you're doing the same as me with a 6-pound chicken, maybe that would be your preference as well. Okay. So I put this on a medium to high heat to start. It's going to come up to temperature. As soon as I see the bubbles start to form in my pot, I'm going to turn it down and I'm going to let it go to a simmer. And what you're looking for is sort of a light rolling simmer. It's going to be active. It's going to move. But you don't want it to get to a point where it becomes a rolling boil. And again, never boil your soup because that will make it cloudy. This is going to go for a couple to a few hours. So the things that I'm going to ask you to do are to let it go, check on it here and there. If there's foam that starts to form on the top, excuse me, you're going to want to skim the foam. So there's a couple different ways you can skim the foam. Give me 1 second. Use a ladle, okay, and you can skim the top and pull the foam off. Or you can use a little strainer. So if you've got a smallish strainer, you can use something like this to skim the foam. So keep an eye on it and skim the foam as it starts to form on this. When your carrots feel tender, go inside. You can grab a tongue, but be gentle because they'll fall apart if they're cooked soft. And pull your carrots out, put them in the fridge, put them in a Ziploc bag, and put them in the fridge till tomorrow. So it's a matter of preference how soft you like your carrots. I like mine with a little bit of snap. I tend to slice them a little bit thicker. But keep an eye on your carrots. Pull them out when they're done. Let this go, I would say, for at least 2.5 to 3 hours on that gentle boil. Your house should smell like the most amazing smell in the world. To me, this is Passover in its home. When the soup is done, you'll be able to see that it's got the golden color. You're going to clarify it, and you're going to do this without me. So I'm going to show you some of the techniques to do this. I have a food safe bucket that I'm going to be straining it into. What you do is you're going to pull your chicken out. You're going to take your chicken and put that in the fridge. So let it cool down, put it in some sort of a container, put it in the fridge. So your carrots, your chicken will be in the fridge. The next thing you want to do is get all of the vegetables out. They should be soft. They should be, soaked with the broth, steamy hot. And what you're going to do is you're going to put them through a strainer first and let them leach out any juices that they're holding into another pot or a bucket or whatever you use. Once you get them, discard the vegetables. We don't need them anymore. And then what I would do, this is what I do. I have a little rig that I have here. I've got a fine mesh strainer and a chinois or a fine mesh sieve, okay? Something of this variety. And what I do is I line them both with cheesecloth. So I take cheesecloth and I'll go ahead and I'll line both sides of it. So what I'm essentially doing here is I'm creating a double coffee filter, for lack of a better term. In fact, there have been times when I've used coffee filter. If I didn't have cheesecloth, it takes longer for the coffee filter to drip through. But if you're looking for the clearest broth, you need to get all the particulates out. Even if you didn't boil it, there's still particulate matter that could come out, particularly with the vegetables. So your objective, and this is all your homework assignment.
Why does it have to be clear broth?
That's the gold standard, because your Jewish mother would not welcome you to her house if you brought a cloudy broth. Yeah.
Does it taste different?
What's that?
Does it taste different, or?
I think texturally it's different, but you know, taste-wise,
Not taste different. It just looks much prettier.
yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks.
So we're going, you know, it's like I'm baking sourdough bread right now, and everybody talks about the crumb. The crumb are the big holes that form from the fermentation. And, you know, the truth is the bread kind of tastes the same with the big holes and the little holes, but people spend years trying to get their holes big in their bread, and I'm obsessed with that right now.
My pot is about to overflow. I have a 4-pound chicken, and it's I don't really know what to do.
Well, are you at the max water line? That's good. It's okay to go right to the level. You're not going to boil it, and nothing's going to expand, so it's not going to go over. You can keep it right to the top if you want, and just simmer, and it should be fine because it's not gonna boil over.
Okay.
So you should be okay going to the top. I've done a lot. You know, it's good to have a large stock pot in your house, but if you only have like a 6-quart, then make do.
Are we cooking it with the lid off?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we're simmering it, so we don't want it to reduce much. The other thing that we haven't added yet is the dill. So I'm going to throw all of my dill in. I have a nice bunch, and we're going to put that in. And then I would say about half a bunch of parsley. And those will wilt down nicely. Okay, so when you strain, here's your process. I'm going to say it one more time. We are going to let this cook for a couple to a few hours. Smell up your house. Pull out the carrots. Probably within the next 40 minutes, the carrots are going to get there. 40 minutes to an hour. Check your carrots. Refrigerate those. When it's done, pull your chicken. Make sure that all the liquid goes into your container. Put your vegetables in here. Get all the liquid out of those. And then as fine as you can, cheesecloth, coffee filter, strainer. You want it cloudy, you don't want it cloudy. And get it into a bucket, and then get it into your refrigerator all night long. And then tomorrow when we come back, hopefully there's going to be a nice layer of fat on top of it that we will then use to make the matzo balls first. The matzo balls we need to do first because the meal needs to hydrate. So there needs to be a good half an hour. So what we'll do is we'll make those, and then we'll assemble our soup. And by the time that our soup is ready to go, then we'll boil the matzo balls, and they'll be nicely hydrated.
Okay, Adam, I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Okay, first is for the rudabega and parsnip and onion that we're gonna pull out of the soup. Are we gonna re-add that to the soup?
No, unless you want them. I don't. My soup has nothing but carrots, chicken. When it's not Passover, I use what is known as lakshin, which are fine egg noodles.
Dude, I totally bought something like that.
Or you can use white egg noodles, but it's Passover. So for Passover, you wouldn't put the noodles in there if you're Jewish, but if you're not, have at it. And matzah farfel is the sort of substitute for us Jews. And then I snip fresh dill and sometimes parsley into the soup itself. We're not going to season anything until it's all done. So right now, all you're doing is bringing this up to temperature, letting it go. I will be around tonight. Judah and I are just hanging out. So if anybody has any questions, I think you all have my phone number. Nika,
I've been
Not going out?
a million times.
So if anybody has any questions, then they're welcome to message me, and we could hop on a Zoom call if we need to. But your homework is in front of you. Does anybody have any questions about their homework?
I have one other question. So
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that the matzah that I made it like too fine. So I can make it again, but I guess my question is, now that I have that, what you called cake flour matzah,
Cake meal.
what would you do with that? Like, is there any kind of thing?
You can make Passover brownies, Passover mandel bread. There's a million recipes online with
like
with matzah flour.
Like a cake or something.
Yeah, I mean, if it's that fine, you can also make your matzo balls with it. It's,
Maybe
your
I
call.
maybe I can call you later and I can show you on FaceTime, because it's like, I'm pretty sure it's like one step above flour.
I mean, here, you guys can look at matzo meal
Yeah.
and you can see.
Amy, was yours like that, or is yours really
I have the
fine?
whole grain.
I knew it was too, because I used the Vitamix,
Yeah, I have the Vitamix also.
the Vitamix, the grain grinder,
Yeah.
and it was fine. It was, I mean, not fine. It was coarse. And then I put it back in to do it again, and it was not too much. Okay, wait. What?
Looks like sugar almost.
I would say cornmeal is sort of the greatest comparison.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
feel
cornmeal. It's
I feel
floury,
mine's
but
I feel like mine's like halfway between.
so here's what you do. Laura, make another batch that's a little grainier and
Mix it. Yeah.
My analysis was it's halfway between.
Okay, Amy, I trust you.
I trust you.
All right.
So
and Coleman's, I'll make you guys some more, because I have a whole nother box of matzah. Although I'm bummed because I was gonna make matzah brie, but whatever. I'll make
So
it.
guys, that's it for this. Everybody on path, you've got your homework assignment. We're going to come back tomorrow. And what you should have is a refrigerated bag with chicken, a refrigerated bag with carrots, and then your soup chilled with a little layer of fat on top, and then the ingredients for the matzo balls, and then some more fresh dill, because you need to hold back some of the dill for garnish. Or you could use parsley, either way. So with that.
Adam, one more question.
Yes.
So the parsley and the dill are going in right now.
Yes.
Oh, I must have missed that.
I put the parsley and the dill in, but I still have some reserved for garnish.
Okay.
So save enough for garnish. But yeah, you want to get as much of that dill flavor in there and the herbaceousness of the parsley into this broth. I'm starting to get a little temperature on here.
And Adam, you said to simmer it, never to bring it to a boil.
I have one of those too.
You said
Don, what do we say?
you said never to bring it to a boil, just simmer it.
Never boil your soup.
Okay. I swear my pot is just overflowing.
Just take a little bit out. I mean, you can take out a little bit, but you can go pretty much to the top.
Okay.
As long as you boil it, it won't overflow.
Adam,
Yes.
tomorrow, we won't be able to be on until 5:20 or 5:30.
Ooh, you're gonna miss
I tried
the matzo
to-
balls.
I'm getting the girls their rabies shot. It's been scheduled for a month, and I tried to move them up a little bit, but their nurses are all booked out.
All right,
So
well, let's talk offline and we'll sort it out. I can give you instructions.
okay.
All right. Anybody
Adam,
else have anything?
I need some props for making my own schmaltz at 4 o'clock today to get ready. Amy, you're amazing. Thank you, Nika.
How did you make it?
I had Tommy ask that he has a great butcher right next door to his work, and so he got some chicken skins and fat, and I just
Wow.
cooked them out, and now I have the little, what are they called?
Gribness.
Let me just show you. Gribness is goodness.
Nice.
I love it. I love it. You get props for being the most legit.
The most legit Jew.
Most legit Jew. I don't know about that.
But your last name is Hoffman, but you're not a Jew.
I know, but according to them, right now, come on.
Adam,
We'll let you in the club. Sarah,
for years.
as Sarah being the only 100% Jew on the planet, is she allowed in the club?
On the planet?
I think Tommy is like 99%. He got his little thing back. Oh no, I think he's
I'm down to like 98% now somehow.
Yeah, you lost your 100%.
I would like to just say I'm happy I was finally invited, even though I'm half Jewish.
Wilbur, I didn't know you were half Jewish, so that's impressive. Okay, guys, awesome stuff.
99.
There's Sarah, 99%. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Wait, Adam, do you not add salt?
I'm
Tommy.
actually, my brother is 100% Ashkenazi Jew. Believe it or not, I got mine done. I'm 92% Ashkenazi Jew, 8% Eastern, 4% Eastern European, 4% Eastern Asian.
I have that too.
102% of a man.
That
Good
means
job.
you're related to Genghis Khan.
Thank you, John Rayner.
You're related to Genghis Khan.
Basically.
Hey, wait, do you not put salt?
Okay, guys. So I'm gonna sign off unless anybody wants to make matzo brie right now as a side project.
Do you not put salt in this?
No seasoning yet. You wait until because it's gonna cook down a little bit. So no seasoning yet.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Thank
We'll see
you
you tomorrow.
Adam.
Same link.
Thank you.
Thank
Ciao,
you.
ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.